Here's a cinematic true scary story script designed for a faceless horror channel. Writing. I moved into a house with a locked room. It should have stayed locked. When I bought the house, everyone told me I was lucky. A 2-story home on the edge of town. 3 bedrooms. A large backyard. And a price so low it felt like a mistake. After months of searching, I didn't ask too many questions. I should have. The previous owner had died unexpectedly, and the family wanted the property sold fast. The realtor seemed eager to close the deal. A little too eager. Still, the house looked perfect. Quiet neighborhood. No visible damage. No strange history that anyone mentioned. Nothing that suggested the nightmare waiting inside. The first thing I noticed was the locked door. It sat at the end of the upstairs hallway. Unlike every other door in the house, it was made of solid steel. No handle. No keyhole visible from the outside. Just a heavy lock mechanism bolted into the frame. I assumed it was some kind of storage room. When I asked the realtor about it, her smile vanished. For a split second. Then she recovered. Old owner kept it sealed. Nobody knows what's inside. She laughed nervously. Probably just junk. Something about her answer bothered me, but not enough to stop me from buying the house. For the first week, everything seemed normal. I unpacked, settled in, started making the place feel like home. Yet every night, I found myself staring at that door. Something about it felt wrong. Not frightening, just wrong. Like it didn't belong there. Then strange things started happening. I would wake up to footsteps upstairs. Slow, deliberate, moving through the hallway. The problem was, I lived alone. The first time, I searched the entire house. Nothing. The second time, I called the police. They found no signs of entry. No footprints. No broken windows. Nothing. After that, the sounds became more frequent. Always between 2 and 3 in the morning. Always near the locked room. One night, I placed a glass against the steel door. I expected silence. Instead, I heard something. A faint sound. Like someone breathing. My heart nearly stopped. I pulled away immediately. Then I convinced myself it was the pipes. Old houses make strange noises. At least that's what I told myself. The next morning, I searched for the previous owner's family. Most refused to speak. One woman finally agreed. She had been the owner's daughter. When I mentioned the locked room, her expression changed instantly. Fear. Real fear. Did you open it? No. Good. The conversation ended there. She refused to answer further questions. That night, I barely slept. At exactly 2:17 a.m., I woke to a loud bang. It came from upstairs. I grabbed a flashlight and slowly climbed the staircase. The hallway was empty, but the steel door stood slightly open. Only an inch. I froze. I knew for a fact. That night, I barely slept. At exactly 2:17 a.m., I woke to a loud bang. It came from upstairs. I grabbed a flashlight and slowly climbed the staircase. The hallway was empty, but the steel door stood slightly open. Only an inch. I froze. I knew for a fact it had been locked earlier. My pulse thundered in my ears. Every instinct told me to leave. Instead, I pushed the door wider. A stale, cold smell spilled into the hallway. The room beyond was dark. Far darker than it should have been. My flashlight beam struggled to penetrate it. The room wasn't large. Maybe 10 feet by 10 feet. Completely empty. No furniture. No decorations. Nothing. Except for hundreds of scratches covering the walls. Deep scratches. As if someone had clawed at them for years. And written between those scratches were words. Thousands of words. Repeated over and over. Don't let it out. Don't let it out. Don't let it out. My stomach twisted. I wanted to leave. Then I noticed something else. A second door. Hidden at the back of the room. Smaller. Older. Made of wood. And unlike the steel door, it wasn't locked. It stood slightly open. Just enough to reveal darkness beyond. The house suddenly felt colder. I should have walked away. Instead, curiosity pulled me forward. I opened the wooden door completely. Behind it was a narrow staircase descending underground. far below the foundation of the house. The air smelled damp, rotten, wrong. Every step creaked beneath my weight. The deeper I went, the quieter the world became, until all I could hear was my own breathing. At the bottom sat a small concrete chamber, and in the center, a chair, bolted to the floor. Leather restraints hung from the arms. Old, cracked, stained. Beside it sat dozens of cassette tapes, each labeled with dates, spanning nearly 40 years. I grabbed one. There was an old tape player nearby. Against my better judgment, I pressed play. Static filled the room. Then a man's voice. Terrified. Shaking. I can hear it in the walls. More static. I locked it downstairs. If anyone finds this, do not open the second door. The recording ended. My blood ran cold. I grabbed another tape. Then another. Each belonged to a different person. Different voices. Different years. Yet every recording ended the same way. Fear, panic, and warnings. All about something behind the second door. That's when I noticed something. The chamber only had one entrance. Or so I thought. Across the room stood another door. A massive iron door. Covered in chains. Covered in locks. And standing wide open. My flashlight trembled in my hand. The locks lay scattered across the floor. Recently broken. The chains looked fresh, as though someone had removed them only hours earlier. Then I heard breathing behind me. Slow, deep, not human. I turned. Nothing. The room was empty. Then my flashlight illuminated the wall. A message had been scratched into the concrete. Fresh. The dust still falling from the letters. Welcome home. I didn't write it. And it hadn't been there moments earlier. The breathing grew louder. Closer. I ran. Up the stairs. Through the hidden room. Into the hallway. I slammed the steel door shut. Locked it. Then shoved furniture against it. For the rest of the night, something pounded on the other side. Not knocking. Pounding. Like it wanted out. At sunrise, the noise stopped. I left immediately. I never returned. A demolition company later bought the property. I followed the news closely. 2 weeks later, workers reported hearing sounds beneath the foundation. 3 days after that, the project was abandoned. No explanation was ever given. Today, the house still stands empty. No owner. No tenants. No buyers. Just a forgotten building at the end of a quiet road. Sometimes, when I can't sleep, I search satellite images online. The house is always there, waiting. And every few months, a new scratch appears on the upstairs window. A single message. Visible even from above. Come back. I moved into a house with a locked room. It should have stayed locked. Part 2. The house wanted me back. For months, I tried to convince myself it was over. I moved to another city. Changed my phone number. Started a new job. I told nobody what happened inside the house. Nobody would have believed me anyway. But the nightmares never stopped. Every night, I dreamed of the iron door, the open chains, the darkness beyond, and something standing inside it, watching, waiting. At first, the dreams were vague. Then they became clearer. Each night I saw a little more. A silhouette. Tall. Thin. Unnaturally thin. Its arms seemed too long. Its head tilted at an impossible angle. Yet I never saw its face. Not completely. Whenever I got close, I woke up sweating. Then strange things started happening in real life. I would come home from work and find muddy footprints inside my apartment. One set. Leading to my bedroom. None leading out. The police found nothing. Again. Just like before. One night, I woke up at exactly 2:17 a.m. A sound echoed through my apartment. 3 knocks. Slow. Deliberate. Coming from inside my closet. Knock. 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 I sat frozen. Every instinct screamed at me not to open it. The knocking continued. Then a voice emerged. A voice I recognized. My father's voice. My father had died 10 years earlier. Please. Knock. Help me. Knock. Open the door. I didn't move. The knocking continued until sunrise, then stopped. Completely. The next day, I received a package. No return address. Inside was a cassette tape. The label read, "Play Me." My hand shook. It looked exactly like the tapes from the basement. I almost threw it away. Instead, curiosity won. Again. It always did. I found an old cassette player online and pressed play. Static crackled. Then a voice spoke. My own voice. My blood turned to ice. I found the second door. Static. It's open now. More static. Then my voice whispered something impossible. It's coming for us. The recording ended. I checked the timestamp. The tape had supposedly been recorded 32 years ago, 10 years before I was born. That was the moment I knew something was terribly wrong. Not haunted house wrong. Not ghost story wrong. Reality itself felt broken. I needed answers. And there was only one place to find them. The house. 3 days later, I drove back. The property looked abandoned. The grass had grown wild. Windows were shattered. The front door hung crooked on its hinges. But something felt different. The house looked older. Much older. As if decades had passed in only months. The moment I stepped inside, the temperature dropped. Every room smelled damp. Rotten. The steel door upstairs stood open. Waiting. This time, I didn't hesitate. I walked directly inside. The hidden staircase remained. The basement chamber remained. And the iron door remained open. But now there was light beyond it. A faint yellow glow. Beyond the iron door stretched a tunnel. Long. Endless. Far larger than should have fit beneath the house. The walls seemed alive. Moving. Breathing. I kept walking. Minutes passed. Then hours. Or maybe seconds. Time didn't feel normal there. Eventually, I reached another room. A massive room. And what I saw inside nearly stopped my heart. The walls were covered with photographs. Thousands of them. Every person who had ever entered the house. Every owner. Every visitor. Every missing person. And there, among them, was my photograph. Dozens of copies. Some showed me as a child. Others showed me sleeping. Some showed me standing exactly where I was now. Then I noticed something impossible. One photograph showed me older. Much older. Grey hair. Wrinkled face. Terrified eyes. Beneath it were handwritten words. Final visit. A noise echoed behind me. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Approaching. I turned. For the first time, I saw it clearly. The thing from my dreams. Tall. Thin. Its skin stretched tightly across its bones. Its eyes completely black. Its smile impossibly wide. But the worst part wasn't its appearance. It was its face. Because it was my face. An older version of me. Twisted. Broken. Wrong. The creature smiled. Then it spoke. Using my voice. You finally came back. My legs refused to move. The creature stepped closer. I've been waiting. What are you? I whispered. It tilted its head. Then answered. You. The room suddenly shook. The photographs began falling from the walls. Thousands of them. Every image showing different versions of me. Different lives. Different choices. Different endings. Then I understood. The house wasn't haunted. The thing wasn't a ghost. The second door wasn't a prison. It was a passage. A place where countless versions of reality collided. And somehow, one version of me had escaped. A version that had spent years trapped in the darkness. Changing. Becoming something else. Something hungry. The creature smiled wider. Then lunged. I ran. The tunnel collapsed around me. Walls cracked. The ground shook violently. I sprinted toward the staircase. Toward the house. Toward daylight. Behind me, I could hear it laughing. My own voice. Mocking me. Growing closer. I reached the basement. Then the hidden room. Then the hallway. I slammed the steel door shut. This time, I locked it from the outside. Then I ran from the house without looking back. Moments later, a deafening roar erupted behind me. The entire structure collapsed inward. as if the ground had swallowed it whole. Dust filled the sky. Within minutes, nothing remained. The house was gone. The basement was gone. The locked room was gone. For the first time, I moved into a house with a locked room. It should have stayed locked. Part 3. The wrong door. I stared at the photograph for nearly an hour. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The thing standing behind me in the picture wasn't blurry. It wasn't a shadow. It wasn't a trick of the light. It was clear. Perfectly clear. My face. That horrible smile. Those black eyes. And the message. You locked the wrong door. For the first time since the house collapsed, I felt true fear. Not fear of a ghost. Not fear of dying. Fear that whatever had been inside that place was now free. And somehow connected to me. I barely slept. At 2:17 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. At first there was only static. Then breathing. Slow. Steady. Then my own voice whispered, "Look outside." The call disconnected. I walked to the window. The street was empty. Or so I thought. Then I noticed a figure standing beneath the streetlight, watching my apartment. Motionless. The same unnatural silhouette. The same tilted head. And then, slowly, it raised one hand and waved. I shut the curtains immediately. The next morning, the figure was gone. But the nightmare wasn't. Over the following weeks, people around me started acting strangely. A coworker greeted me one morning and asked if I was feeling better. I told him I was fine. He looked confused. "You sure? You were here last night." My stomach dropped. I hadn't been there. I was home. Alone. Then he showed me security footage. The video showed someone entering the office after midnight. Someone wearing my clothes. Walking like me. Moving like me. Looking exactly like me. But when the figure reached the camera, it looked up and smiled. That impossible smile. I quit my job that day. Wherever I went, reports followed. People claimed they'd seen me. Cities I'd never visited. Places I'd never been. Hotels. Gas stations. Restaurants. The sightings kept spreading. It was as if something was wearing my identity. Learning how to be me. One night, unable to take it anymore, I returned to the site where the house once stood. The property was empty. Just a huge crater where the foundation had collapsed. The air felt strangely silent. No birds. No insects. Nothing. I stood there for several minutes. Then I heard footsteps behind me. I didn't turn around. I already knew who it was. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. The answer came in my own voice. "Because you left." I turned slowly. The creature stood only a few feet away. Closer than ever before. Its appearance had changed. It looked more human now. Almost normal. Almost. I don't understand. The thing smiled. "You were never supposed to leave." The words made no sense. Until suddenly, memories flooded my mind. Fragments. Pieces. Things I had forgotten. Or perhaps things that had been hidden from me. I remembered being a child. Standing in that same house. Standing outside the locked room. I remembered voices. Arguments. Fear. I remembered being a child. Standing in that same house. Standing outside the locked room. I remembered voices. Arguments. Fear. And then I remembered something else. I had lived there before. Years ago. Long before the house was sold. Long before I bought it. My family had owned the property. The realization hit like a truck. The house hadn't chosen me by accident. It had always been waiting for me. The creature stepped closer. Its smile faded. For the first time, it looked sad. Almost human. Then it spoke. The room wasn't built to keep me in. I froze. It was built to keep me out. Everything suddenly made sense. The warnings. The scratches. The tapes. The chains. The previous owners. They weren't trying to imprison a monster. They were trying to protect the world from something that had escaped. Something that belonged on the other side of that second door. And years ago, that something had chosen me. Not because I was special, but because I was the first person who opened the door. As a child. The memory returned completely. A little boy, curious, opening a hidden door, looking into darkness, and something looking back. The creature sighed. You gave me a way through. I wanted to run, but I knew running wouldn't matter. Not anymore. Can you be stopped? I asked. For the first time, the thing smiled honestly. Not cruelly. Not mockingly. Almost sadly. No. The wind suddenly picked up. The sky darkened. The crater behind us began to shake. The ground cracked open. Deep beneath the earth, something moved. Something far larger than either of us. The creature looked toward the opening. Then back at me. I was only the first. A sound echoed from the darkness below. A sound so deep and unnatural that my entire body went numb. And then I understood. The thing wearing my face wasn't the monster. It was merely what escaped first. Something much worse still remained below. Waiting. Watching. Learning. The creature stepped backward toward the crater. Before disappearing into the darkness, it said one final sentence. The same sentence that still haunts me today. If the second door ever appears again. It smiled. Don't open it. Then it vanished. The ground sealed itself. The wind stopped. Everything became silent. That was 10 years ago. I've never seen the creature again. But every few months, I receive a photograph in the mail. No return address. No explanation. Just a picture. Sometimes it's a forest. Sometimes a hotel. Sometimes an empty road at night. And in every single photograph, hidden somewhere in the background, there is a door. A door that wasn't there when the picture was taken. A door waiting to be opened. Last week, another photograph arrived. This one showed my house. My current house. And standing beside the front door was a little boy. About 8 years old. The same age I was when I opened the locked room. On the back of the photograph were 4 words. It's his turn now. The end. Sometimes an empty road at night. And in every single photograph, hidden somewhere in the background, there is a door. A door that wasn't there when the picture was taken. A door waiting to be opened. Last week, another photograph arrived. This one showed my house. My current house. And standing beside the front door was a little boy. About 8 years old. The same age I was when I opened the locked room. On the back of the photograph were 4 words. It's his turn now. The end. This ending closes on the main mystery while leaving a chilling final twist that suggests the horror may continue. With a new victim. Which is the story ends. I moved into a house with a locked room. Part 4, his turn now. For 10 years, I tried to ignore the photographs. I burned some. Threw others away. Moved 3 times. Changed my address. Changed my life. But the photographs always found me. Always. And every year, the doors and the pictures appeared closer. At first, they were distant. Barely visible. Then they began appearing in familiar places. A supermarket. A parking garage. A school playground. Places I had visited. Places connected to me. It felt like something was slowly moving toward me. Or perhaps waiting for me to notice. Then the photograph of the little boy arrived. It's his turn now. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Who was he? Was he real? Was he another victim? Or was he connected to me somehow? Weeks passed before I got my answer. One evening, while sorting through old family records, I found a faded photo album that had belonged to my mother. Most of the pictures were ordinary family memories. Birthdays. Vacations. School events. Then I found a photograph that made my blood run cold. A picture taken in front of the old house. The house with the locked room. Standing beside me was another child. A boy. The same boy from the photograph. Same face. Same age. The photo was over 20 years old. Yet he hadn't aged a single day. I immediately called my mother. When I showed her the image, her face went white. She looked terrified. Then she finally told me the truth. A truth she had hidden my entire life. When I was 8 years old, I disappeared for 3 days. Everyone thought I had wandered into the woods. Police searched everywhere. Volunteers searched everywhere. Then suddenly, I returned. Alone. Unharmed. With no memory of where I had been. The family considered it a miracle. But according to my mother, something wasn't right afterward. I changed. Small things at first. Nightmares. Strange drawings. Conversations with people who weren't there. And one name I repeated constantly. A name my mother had never forgotten. Ethan. The little boy in the photograph. The boy I claimed lived behind the locked room. The boy nobody else ever saw. Until now. That night, I couldn't sleep. At exactly 2:17 a.m., a knock echoed through my house. 3 knocks. Slow. Deliberate. Knock. 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 My heart sank. The front door. I already knew who it was. But I opened it anyway. Standing on my porch was the little boy. Ethan. Exactly as he appeared in the photograph. Exactly as he appeared 20 years earlier. He looked frightened. Exhausted. And very real. Tears filled his eyes. "Please," he whispered. "You have to help me." Every instinct told me to slam the door shut. But I couldn't. He looked like a child. Just a child. I invited him inside. The moment he stepped across the threshold, every light in the house flickered. The temperature dropped instantly. Ethan looked around nervously. Then he pointed toward my hallway. Toward a section of wall that had always been empty. My stomach twisted. A door was standing there. A door that had never existed before. Old wood. Black handle. Slightly open. The second door. It had found me again. Ethan began crying. I didn't mean to open it. My chest tightened. "What do you mean?" His answer changed everything. "I'm not the next victim." He looked up. "I'm the first one." The room went silent. The realization hit me like a train. Ethan wasn't a child trapped in the cycle. Ethan had started the cycle. Decades ago. Maybe centuries ago. Time clearly worked differently beyond the door. The creature wearing my face. The locked room. The photographs. The disappearances. It all started with him. The door creaked wider. Darkness spilled into the hallway. And from that darkness came whispers. Hundreds of whispers. Thousands. Calling names. Begging. Luring. Promising. The same trap that had caught countless others. Ethan stepped between me and the door. For the first time, he seemed older. Much older. Ancient. Even. "I can stop it," he said. But only once. The darkness behind him began moving. Shapes emerged. Tall shadows. The things that had never fully escaped. The things waiting behind the door. The real monsters. Ethan turned toward them. Then looked back at me. "Close your eyes." I wanted answers. I wanted explanations. But something in his voice told me this was the end. So I obeyed. The whispers became screams. The screams became a roar. The entire house shook violently. Windows shattered. The floor cracked beneath my feet. Then everything suddenly stopped. Complete silence. When I opened my eyes, the hallway was empty. The door was gone. Ethan was gone. The darkness was gone. Only a single photograph remained on the floor. I picked it up. It showed the old house. The locked room. And standing in front of it was Ethan. Smiling. For the first time, he looked happy. On the back was a final message. No threats. No warnings. Just 4 words. The door is closed. 20 years have passed since that night. No more photographs arrive. No strange knocks echo through my house. No mysterious doors appear. The nightmares are gone. Everything is normal. Mostly. Because sometimes, very late at night, I remember one detail that still bothers me. One detail I never understood. The photograph of Ethan was the last photograph I ever received. But there was someone else in the picture. A figure standing far behind him. Watching from a distant window. A figure with my face. Smiling. The end. The horror is over for the narrator. But the final image leaves just enough uncertainty to suggest that some part of the darkness may still exist.